Okay, so just a few minutes ago I started the hub project. I've got all the blades on the hub, wore my gloves, got everything locked down. We'll come back to that in just a minute, but I was going to put the tail assembly together. Tail assembly, it looks like it comes in two pieces. They just slide off. Instructions are inside. Let's pull them out. So it says we offer many different tail styles. If you have two long bars, just push the tail bars together so bolts can fit through the holes, sandwich time between the two tail bars. So I noticed, I watched online, they have a tail that's got two long bars like this, and then they've got one that's got a tail section that's got smaller pieces. Let's see if we can show that on the camera. There we go. You can see on the bottom picture that it looks like they're smaller pieces that just bolt together. So looks like we got the longer pieces. I'm going to take these and kind of set these aside. I wanted the instructions out of it. And it looks like we got the solid tail fin. The video I watched online also showed this tail fin here that you could bend for stabilization is what the video said on the Thermodyne website. So it looks like we got the solid bar with the solid tailpiece. So we're going to put this big bad boy together and see what happens. I'm going to go ahead and open up all of our bolts. So kind of a nice feature so far, at least in the packing that I've seen, is that all of the compartments on these pieces, the plastic pieces, are all sealed. So like the screws were all connected to the bars. That's kind of a neat thing, so you don't have to go hunting for all your screws. Looks like maybe 11 gauge steel. It's good and thick. Not a problem there. Now, one thing I will say is that these nuts that come with the package on the tailpiece, if you look, I think I can get it in there. Come on. You can see that it's got nylon. That's the kind of nut that I was referring to earlier that I've always been used to as a lock nut. The nuts that are on the hub with the Thermodyne blades, I don't see any nylon on there, but man, they were tight to put on. And I checked to make sure that we weren't cross-threaded or boogering any threads up, and it seemed like it was like maybe there was some sort of I don't know, maybe a new kind of nut I don't know about yet. So I'm going to do some research on that and see what I can find. I may contact Thermodyne and see if they can give us some information on that as well. So I'm going to set these pieces to the side. When I was talking just a minute ago about the packaging, this is what I'm talking about. So it's sealed all the way around, so all the components are they're in the same package. That's kind of I think that's neat for a company to do whenever they have a lot of parts and pieces that go together. So we'll pull out all the hardware. Looks like nylon nuts on the bolts. It's got the spacers for the PMA, the long and the short, the bolts, and it looks like we've got an electrical connector. It's probably a 3/4 inch that would go in the top of the bracket for our wires. It would go right there. So I really wanted to get the instructions out, but I didn't want to open it up off camera. So looks like the instructions. We got a blade kit instructions. So we talk about round side going to the PMA, flat side to the wind. Yeah, here it is again in the warning section. You know, I called this out on the first video that the blades were like crazy sharp, and now that we're opening up the packages, we're starting to see that there's lots of warnings about it. I cut my finger earlier before I started to read. They're very sharp. It says treat these blades with the same respect you would have for a sharp sword. Man, I got to tell you, if these things are spinning around at, you know, even 10 miles an hour or 50 RPM, it's going to cut your finger off, I promise you. So there's the blade kit. warnings. Let's see. It's kind of a good document. They put down some extra cells, items you may have missed on there. That's a good thing. They have online videos. They link you to those online videos or give you the URLs to get there. That's a good idea. Same thing. Talks to you about going to the web page to get the most current information. How to put the PMA on the bracket. Talks about 5 pounds of torque. I'm not 100% sure, but I am almost positive that it's 5 pounds of torque on the blades from Missouri Wind and Solar as well. I'll look that up. Talk about using a fuse, using wire, what gauge wire, all of that basic information that you would need to know to put this thing together. Okay, so let me do a little work, and we'll come back to it and we'll see what we have in just a minute. Okay, so as you can see, we have it put together. A couple of things that, just a couple of notes. The instructions are pretty clear. Didn't have any problems there at all. Watch the videos online as well, just to make sure that everything was right. A couple of notes to take. It looks like all of the brackets, they may have a light coating of I don't know, maybe a silver paint. I have it on my fingers. It's not a bad thing. If anything, it's to protect it. That's probably pretty good news. So if you're going to get this and paint it, you probably would have to maybe scuff it with Scotch-Brite or sand it down a little bit. I think probably the most interesting thing I found, two things. Number one is those are called reversible or bidirectional nuts. The ones that I was showing or talking about earlier. You don't have to have a lock washer, and the reason that they are popular, they're used in the medical industry and in the outdoors, because there's no nylon, it's all metal, and basically there's a little crimp or a stamp, an indention, if you will, on the side of the nut. And according to the internet, when I looked it up, it's just basically a narrowing of the threads, and that's why they're a little more difficult to put on, is because it's not a perfect round circle anymore. It's actually got a little indentation right there. So got them on, and it says that that's what the medical industry and a lot of industries use for outdoor or for purposes that they can't have the nuts backing off. That's kind of cool. Learned something new there. The other thing that I found to be kind of interesting was, if you look, you can see the PMA is actually canted up a little bit. I think you can see that on the camera. And I did that because the instructions are very clear to have it canted up. It talks about in the instructions that by canting that up, it keeps the blades from slapping the pole, the bottom of the pole. And it also talks about distorted air, dirty air, and having it come up from the ground and meet the bottom of the blade. So that's interesting. I don't know that I have seen that before, but we're going to try it and see what happens. But like I said, as you can see, it's got a long bolt on the bottom that pushes it out, and it's got the short spacer on the top, and that basically will tip the blades at an angle. The bottom would be away from the pole, and the top would be clearing the pole because it would be at the very top. So I found that interesting. We'll see what happens. Other than that, honestly, the bracket is, from what I can remember, I would just say identical to the Missouri Wind and Solar bracket. I think it's the same gauge steel. I don't know. I've got some pictures of the Missouri Wind and Solar that I took when I first got it. I don't know, 9 or 10 months ago. I'll pull some of those pictures out. I'll snag some good 35mm pictures with, or digital pictures now, of this setup, and I'll put them side by side, and we'll see if we can see some comparisons there. So there you go. There's the unboxing, or the putting together of the PMA and the tail section from Thermodyne. The next thing I'm going to do is this nice cart that we have right here. That's kind of loud. This cart, I'm going to do the same testing that I did with the Missouri Wind and Solar. I'm actually going to strap the tail down to this cart. It's on wheels, I'll put the blades on the PMA, and since I have high winds, I can easily just put all my metering equipment on this cart, put a battery on it with a charge controller, and I take it out into my driveway, into the concrete, and roll it out and just let it run. And I have a lot of hours of comparison data that I can use. I don't have anything recorded on video, but I absolutely have copies of the setup I use for Missouri Wind and Solar, and I'm going to know pretty quickly how this PMA works against the Wind Blue as well as the Missouri Wind and Solar. So that's, I think, is probably the next step for me, is to get this cart wired up, get it strapped down, and we'll get it outside. Winds were good today. We had 40-mile-an-hour gust with 20 and 30-mile-an-hour sustained. So the turbine was just outside spinning all day long. So that's next. If you guys have suggestions, recommendations, questions, something you'd like to see or know, hey, let me know. Shoot me an email, post it up on the YouTube channel, and we will absolutely see what we can do to try to get answers to those questions, or we'll make adjustments. And you know, as I've stated in other videos, I am not an expert. I'm a gadget guy. I usually take things beyond what most people would do, and I just want answers. I want knowledge, and this one was frustrating. So if you have suggestions, recommendations, let me know, and we'll absolutely get all over it. So until next time, see ya.